Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 4, text 7. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhutanam dharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharat, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. It's Sri Krsna Janmastami, the appearance day of Sri Krishna, August 16th, 2025. This is Actually, there's this series. This is the second of a series of four verses here in chapter 4, where Krishna is specifically speaking about his appearance. And and so, okay, so one thing is like, well, like, okay, is there God? And this term God, it's a very generic term. I actually don't like much the term God. I mean, not about me liking or not liking, but it's just like it's like each of us are persons. Each of us are persons, and so I could call you person. I could call you person, 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 person. You could call me person, and that applies. It's true. We're all persons. It's true. At the same time, it's kind of impersonal. Right? So I could say Rosa, Elizabeth, Anasuya, Payal, Nichigo, Paul, Lakshmi, Priya, with a more personal connection. You might call me David or Dhira Govinda Das. So God is like, it's like that generic term to refer to the substratum of all existence, the very foundation of all existence, um, the absolute. It's like the generic term. Then there's more intimate terms like Krishna. Krishna means the all attractive personality, Rama, the reservoir of all pleasure, or Adonai, that's from the Hebrew, right? Um, yeah, these are terms that Jesus would refer to God, Adonai, our Father in heaven, like that. So it's more personal terms. God is like the generic term to refer to the very source, the personal source of our existence. And then the question could come like, oh, well, how could the absolute be a person? Especially in modern times, postmodern times, that is, oh, that's very primitive to think of God, the supreme, as a person. Um, Obviously, if there is any such absolute God, then that entity could be nothing more than a light bulb. A light bulb meaning emanating white light. It's obviously just the great white force or light like that. Okay, well, there's truth that, of course, sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate, that that God is the source of all energies. Krishna says, I'm the source of all spiritual material energies. And a cornerstone verse in all of the Vedas, Vedanti tat tatvavidas tattvam yajganamadvayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdyate, that that uh, realized transcendentalists understand and appreciate and realize the absolute in three aspects. And you might say the most foundational, the kind of the first aspect is the oneness of all energy. So there's truth to that. And there's truth to that. It can be described like if we're approaching, we're driving, and in the distance on a hill, there's a town, a city. So from a distance, the town, just there's some kind of cloud there or something, just some kind of cloud or something. And when we get closer, we say, oh no, it's not just a cloud. We can actually see, oh, there's the water tower, and see a sports stadium, and there's some buildings there. Oh, there's a skyscraper. Oh, okay. Yeah. So so the cloud represents the Brahma Jyoti, the oneness of all energies. We get closer, that represents the Paramatma, or the super soul realization, God in the heart. And as we really we get closer and closer to the town. We get closer, and when we drive up, we get closer and closer to the town. And we say, oh, oh, okay. No, it's not just some um, amorphous skyscraper. Okay, there's Bobby Jones going to his office, and there's the postman, and there's Betty Johnson going into her bakery shop, and okay, it's very personal. It's very personal. So now the town's always the town. It's not like when we're at a distance, there's no Betty Jones or Billy Smith, but just our realization is from a distance. So similarly with the absolute. And even as far as the personal aspect of the supreme, how can, because it's, there's this term anthropomorphism. And so in the name of anthropomorphism, oh, well, the supreme can't be a person because that's just like, because you need like a dad figure, you need like a father figure, so you want to create some sort of God as a person. It's actually said in the beginning of the Hebrew scriptures, B'Tselem Elohim, Bereshit bar Elohim et Hashemayim v'et haaretz, that God created humans in His image, not that we created God in our image. So this actually, I'll call it, it's a misconception from, I'll call it reverse anthropomorphism. The idea that we think, well, if God has a personal feature, it must be like, this personal feature or that personal feature and we've got so many limitations, and we suffer from diseases and forgetfulness, and we have all sorts of cheating propensities, and we're suffering, and it's like, and just like, this is kind of, come on, the supreme, absolute, omniscient, omnipotent, omnipotent, omnipresent, a Godhead couldn't be a person like this. So that's true. That's true. So that God, Krishna, is not a person like we have experience in the material world. But God must be a person. Otherwise, it's a philosophical principle. Janma dyasya yataha yaton bayad itirtash. But so everything that exists in the effect must exist in the source. So if we're persons and we like to dance, we like to eat, we like to relate, we like to communicate, we like to serve, we each have distinctive personality, each like to dress in particular ways with particular styles and colors. We have all these personal propensities, but God can't do that. Okay, we can just we can each make like lists of things like, okay, well, if there's this all-powerful God, He can't do this, and that. So then who are we? Okay, so if we have these propensities, it must exist in the source. Personhood, personality, color, music, exchanges of personal affection. And it's true. Okay, so but then the source is it's a different sort of personhood altogether. And then we say, like, okay, well, maybe God's a person, but he couldn't he couldn't he couldn't appear as a half man, half lion. He couldn't appear as a blue cowherd boy. And then we get into, why not? What if he likes to? Oh no, I'm sure he went to. Well, where did you get that revelation? Was it were you like walking along one day and a burning bush spoke to you that God could never appear in this way or that way? He can only be old man with a beard. I mean, was it a dream and a flash of light that revealed that to you? So if God is omnipresent and intrinsically a personhood, we've got personhood, then it makes sense that the appearance of God, that the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead would be like really far out, way more far out than any Hollywood plot. That makes sense, actually. This makes sense, actually. Yeah, this morning we read the first two paragraphs of the first chapter of Krishna book before we read before we went into our japa period. And it talks about Mother Bhumi there. And we talked about spiritual ecology, spiritual environmentalism, that this Mother Earth, it's not just a sentimental Mother Earth. No, the Earth is just like we have our bodies, and we're the spiritual person inside. So the whole planet, that's the body of a powerful demigoddess named Bhumi, Mother Earth. And Bhumi, this whole Janmastami pastime starts with Mother Bhumi feeling aggrieved because Earth is being treated badly by humans. You can certainly apply that to today's scenario. She's being treated in very vicious ways by humans. And so Mother Earth she's Bhumi, she's a devotee of Krishna. So when the citizens and the residents of Mother Earth dedicate themselves to serve Krishna with love and devotion, then Mother Earth is happy, and then she's happy. It's very personal. Mother Earth, not just a sentimental concept. And then she reciprocates with abundance and love, and so to be a devotee of Krishna, that's the core of truly effective, getting at the root of true ecology and environmentalism, and treating Mother Earth nicely, knowing how to serve Krishna. And then naturally, like, devotees of Krishna don't want to commit more violence than absolutely necessary to nourish their bodies. So it's the prasadam principle. So they're not engaging in slaughterhouses. They're not engaging all those activities which are the main cause of pollution of the bland water seas, so like that. So so um, mm. so and I think we'll discuss more tonight. We have a program starting at 6 p.m. tonight, if I remember correctly. Yeah, and Bhakti Rose is going to be running programs all day for Sri Krishna Janmastami. And tonight we'll talk more about where there's many incarnations of God as described here. Ete Chantkala Pumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Svayam Indrari Jakalam Lokam Vidyanti Yuge Yuge. Krishna is not an incarnation of God. Krishna is the incarnate. All of the incarnations, Krishna is the source. He's the incarnate. And all of the other incarnations, whether Buddha, Ramachandra, Varaha, Ramanadev, Matsya, Kurma, they're incarnations, they're avatars, and so Srila Prabhupada, he gives some analogy from mathematics here, as he does in other places of the Bhagavad Gita, to illustrate the time and circumstance principle. And I know for me, from the beginning of my connection with Krishna consciousness, this has been a very core principle, that just like an expert educator, whether educating adults or children, it is said a parent treats all their children equally by treating them differently. Okay? Equal doesn't mean the same. Okay, so one child might naturally respond to, yeah, get him moving, getting him moving physically, then he's ready to absorb the information, the knowledge. Another child, maybe just a soft touch on the hand and eye contact, and they're ready to receive. Another child is very visually oriented, another is sound oriented and tactile. Okay. So we would expect the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the highest level educator. And so God directly or through his representatives. Srila Prabhupada has this sentence here in the purport. Sometimes he descends personally, and sometimes he sends his bona fide representative in the form of his son or servant or himself in some disguised form. So, with reference to the totality of Srila Prabhupada's teachings, we can understand his son, Prabhupada's referring to Jesus, Son of God, or a servant, Prabhupada's referring to Muhammad there. That's my best guess. Abdallah really means slave of God, servant of God in a more appealing form. We lived in Muslim villages for a few years in the 80s and 90s. Or himself in some disguised form. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nayanya. Lord Chaitanya is Krishna disguised as a devotee of Krishna. Krishna, in Bhagavad Gita, he says, like, to be happy, be my devotee, surrender unto me. Then, 4,500 years later, Krishna appears as Lord Chaitanya, about 500 years ago, 530 years ago. Krishna appears as Lord Chaitanya to say, okay, here's how you do it. Here's how you do it. Here's how you be a devotee. And and so what was Lord Chaitanya doing? He was immersed in Srimad Bhagavatam. That's how you be a devotee. What was Lord Chaitanya doing? Kali, Claire, Dharma, Krishna, Nam, Sankirtan, on his own, in his Gambhira, in the streets. He was chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And so in so many ways, he was showing, it's Krishna showing how to be a devotee of Krishna. Yes. Mm. Mm. So, so out of compassion, not being forced to fulfill material desires like a birth of a conditioned soul, like ourselves. So Krishna chooses to appear, and his pure devotees choose to appear. Tomorrow is the appearance day of Srila Prabhupada. Krishna's a pure devotee like that, and who comes out of compassion for us, and they give us knowledge, transcendental knowledge, just like an expert teacher, meeting the different people and groups of people where we're at, and always encouraging us towards self-realization and deepening our enthusiasm to serve God with love. And so that's why the details of legitimate bona fide spiritual systems might appear to be different. An example many of you have heard me use before, whether we look in the Vedas, there are places that talk about, if you want to eat meat, here's how you kill a goat once a month, and here's the mantras you chant while you're killing the goat, and things like that. Those mantras, they say things like, I am killing you and causing you great pain, and in the future you'll kill me and cause me great pain. So the idea there is like, if we really think about what we're saying, it's like, okay, so I'm chopping off the head, bloody, it's a gory scene, agony. If we really think about what we're saying, kind of like, do I really want to do this? Is this really intelligent? Is it really to satisfy, some bumps on my tongue, with blood? I mean, is this really worth it? Is this going to happen to me? Because it will. That's a law of karma. That's a law of karma. So in the Old Testament, for example, in the Old Testament, in the very first chapter of the book of Genesis, it's described. It's described that the proper food for humans is vegetarian. Right? don't be killing animals to satisfy your taste bud. Herbs and vegetables and fruits and grains, very clear. Okay, okay. And then, then the human population wasn't following it. And then as we go on in the Hebrew Bible, God gives a command. This is before the 10 commandments. They're called the Noahide commandments. I think there are 7 Noahide commandments before that. Actually, in the Bible, how many commandments are there? People say 10. It's actually 613. How many are you following? Okay. Okay. So it's actually 613. And the religious Jews, they try to follow 413 because 200 of them are not relevant until the Messiah comes. Of course, many would say, the Messiah came, you missed him, he's named Jesus, but whatever. It's a whole discussion. It's a whole discussion. Actually, the one name for the religious Jews is the Haredim, which means those who are in anxiety. They're in anxiety to fulfill the commandments of God. Got 413 things to remember. It's a thing, you know. And I'm seeing this picture of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, this painting here at Prabhupada House, done by Pushkar Prabhu. Right? So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and similarly, like the Haredim of the Orthodox Judaism. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's speaking to Krishna, he says, anxieties undertaken in your service, I regard as the source of my greatest ecstasy, my greatest bliss. So that's spiritual anxiety. It's like for everything material, that's the shadow. There's the pure spiritual form, which brings bliss. So rather than we have our petty anxieties, am I respected enough? Did I just get insulted? Oh, what about my bank account? We have like different things going on, you know, like that. But then if we transfer that, let me be in anxiety. How to spread Krishna consciousness in Melrose. How to spread Krishna consciousness in Switzerland. Okay. Then not to neglect our finances and our health, but then make our real anxiety how to chant more attentively and share Srimad Bhagavatam. Then that becomes blissful anxiety, which can seem contradictory, but it's all things are resolved in the absolute. And so there's a commandment in the Old Testament that says, don't chop off the limbs of an animal and just eat the limb. It says, like, it's kind of very vulgar and gross. But what's it mean? People were doing things like chopping off the limbs of animals and then eating the limb. That's what it means. So that became like the beginning of the laws of kashrut, to be kosher. You know, things like don't cook a calf in the milk of its mother. Familiar with that? Yeah, don't cook a calf in the milk of its mother. All right. So then there's many laws of kashrut. And so now God's not saying there that when you kill animals and not unduly torturing them by just slicing off their limbs, and you just kill them. God's not saying that gives me so much pleasure. I'm so happy. That at some point he says, "He that sleweth an ox is that he that sleweth a man." He's not happy, but it's kind of like, okay, we're meeting you where you're at, because is God just like, okay, no animal killing at all, like that? People like forget this. But no, I don't want this. But then like, okay, just at least come to a little higher level, little more humane, a little more like, don't torture the animal. But the ideal, vegetarian diet, and then even more ideal than that, a prasadam diet, which means food actually prepared with love and devotion for God, for Krishna, and then consumed in the spirit of honoring the grace of God. So thanking God for the food, thanking Krishna, and more than that, preparing the food and offering it to him with love and devotion. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is not telling Arjuna, now don't torture animals like that, because Arjuna is this like person of like very impeccable character and very high refined consciousness. Okay, so the details might be different, but the principle is always the same. Meet people where they're at and inspire them in some guidance, some instruction from where they're at to gradually advance towards principles of humanity and sattvic life, and ultimately pure love and devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this was very important for me going back to more than 45 years, more than 45 years. Yeah, this, because like, I was, exposed when I was in my late teens, early 20s, young adulthood, to different philosophies and yoga systems, visited different religious groups, spiritual meetings, like that. And I remember, and some of you have heard me share this before. I went to a meeting of one group of born again Christians, very nice people, very nice people. And by that time, I'd already been taking a lot of prasad at the Hare Krishna Center, began reading some of Prabhupada's small books, associating with some of the devotees led by Stambadas Prabhu, who now lives in High Springs, Florida. He's like my Vartma Pradarshak Guru, which means the teacher that first points the way to self-realization and God consciousness. And so very nice people. Um, and but then I asked them, like, well, what about these like devotees of Krishna who are chanting Hare Krishna and like that? They said, well, they're Satan and they're going to burn in hell forever. Okay, so somehow my intellect wasn't particularly satisfied. Like, well, yeah, just wasn't. And I studied at a yeshiva called Eish HaTorah, which translates as Fire of the Torah. This wasn't in Gainesville or Pennsylvania. This was in the Ir Atika, the old city of Jerusalem, the home of Judaism. And this Eish HaTorah, it's right at the Hakotel, the Wailing Wall. And I studied there with the top rabbis of the world at that time, Rabbi Ackerman, Rabbi Weinberg, like that. I stayed there for about 2 months. And it very stimulating. I'm very glad I did it. Very enriching. At the same time, like there was no platform or foundation how to understand others other than they are, yeah, they are the devil and they're going to burn in hell forever. And whereas with the Krishna consciousness, then I'm getting, oh, okay, now I'm seeing where, okay, there are so many paths. There, yayatamam prapajante tam taiva pajamyam mamavat manavartante manusha partasarvasha. That's later in this chapter. I say, okay, yes, so those who are sincerely following Jesus. Jesus spoke to those people in the desert 2,000 years ago. And the principles are the same. The details are different because he's meeting people where they're at, just like a good educator. And the Buddha had his particular mission. He was also purely compassionately representing God, but the details were different because he was talking to a particular. So then, like, oh, only with Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam and Srila Prabhupada did I get a foundation to see how it all connects without this, yeah, without this kind of narrow-minded, black and white, and like this kind of sectarian, only my group is good, like that. So this principles, time and circumstance, was a very attractive, philosophically spiritual principle for me. So there's a verse by William Blake. Is he American or British? Anyhow, he wrote it in English. He wrote, God appears and God is light to those poor souls who dwell in night, but does a human form display to those who dwell in times of day. It's very brilliant. It's from William Blake. God appears and God is light. You think, oh, God is light. Wow, yeah, that's the utmost. God appears and God is light to those who dwell in realms of night. So he's like, God appears, God is light. Now that's darkness. Very brilliant. But does a human form display to those who dwell in times of day? Okay, so the personal form is a more complete realization of the absolute. And so today's a special day where it's like the principle, the active principle of Bhakti Yoga Krishna consciousness, Manmana Bhagavad Bhakto Madhyadi Mam Namaskru Mam Aveshasa Yuktve Mam Atmana Mat Parayana. The principle of Krishna consciousness is to be absorbed 24 hours a day, 7 days per week, every day of the year, in serving Krishna, in serving God. That's actually the nature of the soul. It's not an artificial imposition. That's the nature to serve God with love and devotion. Then we're blissful. We're like secondary enjoyers, just like a mother naturally enjoys, but she's even happier when she sees her child eating a nice meal than when she herself enjoys the meal. So similarly, our nature is to be is to be in experiencing enjoyment, anandamayo vyasat. And we experience enjoyment when we devote our energies to please the senses of Krishna. Rishikena Rishikesha, Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Uchyate. And so every day to serve Krishna fully 100%. And today's a special day to double and triple and quadruple our efforts to immerse ourselves in chanting Hare Krishna, preparing preparations to offer to Krishna, engaging in kirtan, reading Krishna's words in Bhagavad Gita, reading about Krishna in Srimad Bhagavatam, discussing with each other about Krishna's pastimes. Today is a special day to immerse ourselves as like to re-energize, rejuvenate, and refresh our efforts to go into the next year with greater dedication and enthusiasm to avoid the forces of illusion and to give ourselves to this highest aim of life, say the human form of life, but really more broadly all life, coming to a close. Today's my 43rd Janmastami in this lifetime. I mean, I'm not saying this body's 43 years old. It's a little older than that. Wait. So of course I've been in this body for well, not exactly this body because the body's changing. We're not in the same body we were an hour ago, but we get the basic idea. But yeah, I was in the summer of '83, and I was 22 years old. That was the first time I consciously participated in the Janmastami celebration. Consciously, I was backpacking around Europe on a Eurail pass. I don't know if they still have those things. And I went to the summer of '83, and I went to practically every country in Western Europe. It was still Iron Curtain days, so I wasn't, going to places like Czech and Poland and Romania, things. But so at this particular time, I was August of 1983. I had I guess it was called a Jufro, okay, and so like that, and I was backpacking around Europe, and I stumbled across there still is, it's called Villa Vrindavan. It's outside of Florence, Italy, and there was a big Janmastami celebration, and that was my first Janmastami. I remember they prepared 1,108 preparations for Krishna.
Wow.
Yes. It was at that moment I realized this is the spiritual path for me. I just somehow. Yeah. Are you saying we're gonna have something less than 1,108? I was expecting. So yeah, so it's like it's a special day. Generally, the devotees of Krishna, aspiring devotees of Krishna, it's like following Ben Franklin: early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. And today's a special day where at least myself on Janmastami, I'll stay up till like, because actually the arti, the offering to Krishna happens at midnight because he appeared at midnight. I expect throughout the day and later we'll read more about here we're reading words from Krishna. Later today or tonight we'll read more about the actual appearance of Krishna at midnight in the dungeon of Kamsa. And so today's a day where those regular principles are transcended like that for those who choose to follow. Not recommended to like do extreme things and then damage one's health or something like that. So to absorb oneself in reading Bhagavad Gita, words of Krishna, reading Krishna book, which is the 10th canto of Bhagavatam, increasing chanting, time in the kitchen to serve Krishna by preparing foodstuffs and like that. So our verse today, Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, text 7, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhutanam dharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharat, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. Hare Krishna. Thanks for hearing Krishna's words in Bhagavad Gita. I welcome at this time if anyone would like to share any comments, realizations, or inspirations, or ask any questions. Yeah.
Is there, I heard you say that you might be sharing more on the story of when Krishna appeared later. I don't know if I'll be able to hear it today, maybe in a recording, but I'm wondering, is there a reason he appears at midnight? Yeah.
Okay, thanks for your question. Well, how come Krishna chose to appear at midnight? Sometimes when Prabhupada was asked questions about Krishna like that, sometimes he would say, why don't you ask him?
Yeah.
Emphasizing that Krishna is a person, and as we develop our personal relationship with Krishna, and Prabhupada was quite serious, then you can ask him such things. Okay, so at the same time, so yeah, I don't claim to know in any deep way Krishna's psychology. At the same time, we can understand in terms of the pastime. There's a whole lot of spiritual mysticism going on in Krishna's appearance, described in Krishna book, and even more so if we read the purports to the 10th canto, first few chapters. Balaram appeared and he got mystically transferred from Devaki to Rohini, and then Krishna appeared. So there's all sorts of transcendental subterfuge because Kamsa was he was viciously killing all the children of Vasudeva and Devaki. And so it makes sense even from an ordinary sort of strategy point of view that Krishna would appear at a time where like even the guards were fallen asleep. Of course, Krishna could appear in, at 2 in the afternoon and do whatever he wants, but it makes sense because then Krishna was transferred at night when no one could see to Vrindavan. And then when Kamsa came, he was expecting to kill the male child, but it was a female child because Vasudeva brought back Subhadra, who then appeared to, as Kamsa tried to crush her. And then she said, "You fool, the one who's going to kill you is already somewhere else." He's like, "What?" So it makes sense under the cover of the darkness that Krishna would appear. That's my understanding.
So it's not because at 12 o'clock the new day starts. So then you can 24 hours in a day that you can use instead of only half the time. It starts 12 the day after.
Extend the celebration.
Extend the celebration.
I'm just wondering. That's would be my thing. It's like, I only have one day. I'm gonna make sure I'm right there at 12.
Right at the beginning.
Yeah, the whole day. to do
Thanks
my
for that,
thing.
Elizabeth. That makes sense to me too. That makes sense to me too.
But you're saying, well, I'm not sure, so just ask him.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm saying all of this.
Oh,
Your response. That's definitely that definitely enriches the discussion, and my response I think is also based on what we hear about Krishna and from Krishna. All of that in the context is as we develop more and more bhakti, as we dedicate ourselves to devotion to Krishna, to sacrifice material pleasures, then Krishna reveals himself more and more, and just like any one of us, when someone devotes themselves to us and serves us and understands us, then we develop love and trust and confidentiality, and then we reveal our hearts to them more and more. So the Supreme Person, Krishna, is like that too. So maybe throughout today, some of us will get more and more realizations about that very question in a very personal way.
so what you're saying is what is true for one person may not yet be true for another?
I appreciate how you said that. Yeah, like you might have some realization about Krishna and how come he does something that I haven't realized yet. Yes. Yes.
I mean, I'm just.
Yeah.
The answer is in this verse itself.
Yeah.
We can decode it.
Thank
The
you.
answer is Krishna is saying the word. Prabhupada starts the purport with Sarjamyaham.
Yeah.
He says that he manifests. He's always existing, not that he takes birth.
Yeah.
He's always existing. And he's saying, when does he exist? He manifests when Glanir Bhavati Bharata, Dharmasya Glani.
Yeah.
Whenever you have decline of religion, the darkest of the existence without any dharmic principles, that is when he's manifesting.
Yeah.
He's manifesting at the darkest of time. According to this verse.
According to this verse, yeah.
Yeah. And Krishna appeared in the dungeon, the prison house, which itself is dark. Midnight, darkest of dark. So he's appearing when there's the darkest of darkness.
Yeah.
And that is where Krishna really takes birth. That is one aspect.
Thanks for that.
Situation was completely dark. Even to the people whom he's appearing to, I mean devotees, Devaki and Vasudeva, they are in the darkest time in their existence.
In their life. So.
They're in a prison house.
And their children are being slaughtered.
What would be the most darkest time for
Yeah.
parents that 6 children is being killed, 7 children is being killed, and they're like princes and a queen. They're struggling in the prison house. They appear in the darkest of their time.
Yeah.
So similarly, I mean that's the point. I'm just extending it further. That Krishna consciousness also manifests sometime in darkest of our time.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks very much for that completely true principle, vital principle. Thanks for Thanks for illuminating us about that darkness. Thanks for that. And also, thank you, Nichigopal Prabhu, for emphasizing, Krishna emphasizes the word Srijami, and Prabhupada starts the purport there. Manifest, because we're talking about, in colloquial terms, we can say the birthday of Krishna, as we indicated earlier. Birthday isn't technically the right term, it's more a manifestation, an appearance. It's described, Andantarasta Paramanu Chayantarastam Govindamadi Pujam Tamaham Bhajami. Krishna in fullness is within each atom. Ishvara Sarabhutanam Videsher Juntishtati. Krishna's in the heart of each living entity. Prabhupada unpacks that when he said Krishna's in each atom. Prabhupada says, okay, now they've discovered subatomic particles, protons, electrons, and we can go to quarks and gluons. And Prabhupada will say, as small as you get, Krishna's in there. Krishna's in there. So Krishna's everywhere. And then to the extent that we develop a bhakti heart, devotion to Krishna, then we realize Krishna everywhere. Then we realize Krishna everywhere. And to help us realize Krishna everywhere, Krishna appeared there in the dungeon 5,200 years ago. It's described Stavarajan Gamadekina Deki Taramurti Sarvatra Hayanija Ishta Deva Sporti. That for the pure devotee of Krishna, they're realizing that's just like Prahlad Maharaj. He was there with his father, his father, Hiranyakashipu, and Prahlad Maharaj was completely realizing Lord Nrsingadev in the pillar. Hiranyakashipu didn't have that vision. He was saying, "Is your Lord in this pillar?" Like, yep. And so Krishna's everywhere, and that's a blissful realization. And then how much to have some intellectual understanding of that's helpful. And then to the extent we practice the process of bhakti yoga as given by Krishna Bhagavad Gita, then more and more each day of our lives, we're realizing Krishna everywhere and how Krishna is guiding everything, even the darkness, to help us ultimately to come to our original happiness. Nityasiddha Krishna Prema Sajika Bunoy Shravanadi Shudachite Karye Udai. Love of Krishna is eternally situated in the hearts of all living entities, and it's awakened by this process of hearing Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, hearing Bhagavad Gita, and chanting. So eternally situated in the hearts of all living entities. So that blissful love of Krishna, to love Krishna, Krishna's the source, the mother and the father of all living entities. So we actually develop love for Krishna. There's no question of hating this one or that one or like that. Naturally, we're loving all of Krishna's children. So this love of Krishna, this bhakti is inherent. I saw a book last night, Inherent or Inherited, in the room where I'm staying. So I'm giving a purport that is consistent with Srila Prabhupada's teachings and is opposite to what the book is saying. I'm not opposed. Like I read books that are not consistent with Prabhupada's teachings, and at the same time, I'm endeavoring to see everything through the pure lenses of what Prabhupada gives us, and then that's enriching and expansive. Hare Krishna. Anandini.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol.
Thank you for.
I'm hearing you, but faintly. I think if you just get closer to the mic, we'll be fine.
How about?
No. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yes. Hare Krishna. Thank you for this class and for Prabhupada House to hosting it. And I'm very grateful to internet and Zoom that I get.
Yes.
Um, Well, I want to share something about how Krishna speaks to us personally. And I had an experience today, a few experiences today actually. We had a festival planned and guests coming, but now my family is sick. They have some bug. We don't want to pass on the bug, so there's no festival or no guests. And I was feeling quite depressed this morning, sad that we won't have a festival. And I you know, I am in anxiety, not a healthy anxiety about sharing Krishna consciousness in Switzerland. And I was this morning feeling like, oh, I'm just a failure. I'm just failing. There's not even a festival today. And then the doorbell rang, and it was one of our guests who heard that, you know, that the family is sick, and she came and she brought sunflowers. And she brought a sunflower for each member of the family. And she put a special sticker, like a special colored heart sticker on each of the sunflowers. So each sunflower is personally for someone. She also brought one for Krishna. So she brought, and she shared, this morning I got up and I felt so bad. I felt so like low. And then I remembered the last Bhagavad Gita class we had together.
Yeah.
Where we spoke about serving the servant of the servant. So I thought, I'll just serve the servants of Krishna and bring them flowers. And she was beaming, she was joyful. And it was such a beautiful experience for me, like a confirmation of many things. Like, so Krishna speaks personally to me. He comes, he sends one of his devotees to take care of me. And he's also taking care of her because she's doing some service. And she got realization from the last Bhagavad Gita class. So we can't be doing too bad. Sharing Krishna consciousness.
I'm glad to hear of the personal reassurance you got from Krishna through this nice guest there. I'm very glad to hear that.
Yes. And well, just yesterday someone asked me about Lord Buddha, and so I responded today. And now in this verse there is Lord Buddha, and you mentioned Lord Buddha too. So that's another Krishna magic happening.
You're seeing Krishna personally reciprocating.
Yes. And I have a question. You mentioned Lord Chaitanya. Well, the verse is about, so Krishna appears when there's a decline of religious principles, and that's happening today. And then Lord Chaitanya appeared, and it seems like the world is in need of Lord Krishna's appearance right now. And I would like to ask if you could speak a little about the incarnation today of Lord Krishna as the holy name. Would you say a few words about that?
Okay, thank you, Anandini, for all that you've expressed. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks, Anandini. Also, I see your chat because Krishna appeared because he wanted to, when he wanted to. Well, you know, in your kind of invitation to speak, Anandini, that's the response, and that so Krishna is in every atom and like that, and for us practically the main avatar, nam avatar, the name in the main incarnation, the main way Krishna is appearing to us in this age is through his names, Kali, Kaler, Dharma, Krishna, Nam, Sankirtan. It's described Namo Chintamani Krishnas Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddha Nityamukta Binadvan Nama Namino. That Krishna and his name are non-different. All of the names of God are non-different from God. And that's why the names of God, they're like infinitely condensed absolute truth. And the vibration reveals truth and is non-different from the truth it reveals. And so Lord Chaitanya says, Nam Nam Akri Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatropita Nyamita Smarane Nakala Etadrashi Tava Kripa Bhagavan Mamapi Dordeva Midrashami Hajanu Ihadani Nanuraga. He says that, yeah, that says to Krishna, you have hundreds and millions of names, and all of them are completely invested with your potencies. So Krishna is completely present in his name, and that's the main incarnation that's relevant for us today. And it's described in the Svetashvatara Upanishad, Idi Shodashakam Nam Nam Kali Kamashanashanam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That particularly in this age, called Kali Yuga, which is relatively a dark age, but we get to bring light, Tamasya Tirgama, into this darkness. The most recommended process for self-realization and developing love for God in this age is chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So through chanting, through associating with Krishna through his name, then gradually we get more and more realization of how Krishna is his name, and we get more and more realization of his form, rupa, his qualities, guna, and his pastimes, lila, including how come he appeared at midnight. So really, these questions are so intimately connected, because as we associate with Krishna through his name, then we get more and more realization about his pastimes, nama, rupa, guna, lila, and what he's doing in his pastimes, and how he's manifesting compassion, and mysteries become enlightened. So the most, and like, sure, we're today, and we're going to read about Krishna and the gopis and Krishna and the cowherd boys, and again, so Srila Prabhupada came to give us Krishna, and when he came to the West, basically he sat under a tree and started chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, giving us Krishna in the form of his name. And the name, it's like 90% of Krishna. It's 100% Krishna is non-different from his name. And we get more and more realization of that the more we chant and engage in the other limbs of bhakti. Thank you, Anandini.
Thank you.
Bhaktin Rosa.
I really appreciated your sharing, Nichigopal, and Dini, what you shared, and David kind of expanded on it. So the world, Maya, this is often described as the jailhouse, and it's just making me think of the past time where in the deepest darkness of the illusion of perception of the world, Krishna comes to us.
Thanks for that. Yeah, the Maya, the whole material energy, is called Durga. Durga means fortress, and it's the dungeon of existence.
And so with that, I'm thinking about like the suffering and the pain that you're talking about for the parents, like that they're in this darkness and that their children are being slaughtered and are suffering. And it just makes me think of our position and Krishna as our father, and how he may be suffering, but we are here doing this.
It's true. It's described in Bhagavad Gita. There's a verse that but when we act foolishly and in a way that's alienating ourselves from ourselves, and we act ignorantly, we torture the super soul in the heart. The super soul is a full expansion of Krishna. Sarvasya Chamridisa Nivisto. Krishna is in the heart, a super soul. We torture the super soul. And that can seem contradictory, because Krishna is Atma Rama. He's fully self-satisfied. He's fully blissful. So Krishna's blissful, joyful, like that. But out of his care and compassion for his children, when we act contrary to our own self-interest and we act in self-hatred and envy, it pains him. Just like, as an analogy, let's say there could be parents who have a fine life, and the parents are fulfilled and happy in their life, and maybe in their wealth and their relationship and their house. The parents are good in their life and they do their charity work. And maybe their children give them so much pride, or maybe let's say they have one child that's just ruining his life, just doing really stupid things and self-sabotage. And in this, we're not talking like, oh, it's an embarrassment to the parents, but just like they feel so terrible that this child is destroying themselves and causing themselves so the child, the adult child is causing pain and torture to the parents, and then at the same time the parents have a very fulfilled life. Yeah, so we exist, and that we exist to expand Krishna's joy, to expand Krishna's bliss, and then to the extent that we surrender to that mission, then we're blissful and we're free from material anxiety. And so when we act in a sense, in a way that's envious of our own blissful nature, yeah, we give pain to our original mother and father, Krishna.
And one last tie-in, right? The reason for the dungeon, the reason for the pain and the torture and the suffering and the death is because one person is so attached to their body and afraid of dying.
Yeah. Yeah, and he was willing to kill his cousin, sister, murder infants because of that. Bhayamidritiya Binivesha Tasyat, just followed up on your lucid comment, Bhakti Mosa. That's a Bhagavatam verse I just cited. To the extent that we're attached, to the extent that we misidentify our spiritual self with the temporary body, we're going to be insecure and in anxiety, and then everything is just desperate survival. Thanks for that.
Somebody's appreciating Rosa's comment about how Krishna took birth in a prison house. Krishna appeared in a prison house. And in a way, Krishna, in the whole universe, there are heavenly planets, different dimensional world, they're existing, completely full of light. And here they're completely in darkness. Similarly, in our life also, we can see everybody's life is so illuminating externally. Everybody's enjoying materially, they are so happy in their material life, but I am suffering here so much.
Yeah.
What is a hope for me to give birth to Krishna consciousness? If Krishna personally appeared in a place where there was no light, similarly, even though there is no apparent light and we are seeing external lights, still Krishna can appear because that is Krishna's power. Second thing is the devotee's devotion. So Krishnas can appear anywhere, that is his power. Krishna can give mercy to anybody, whomever he chooses. We can say, I am not qualified to receive Krishna's mercy, but Krishna is powerful to infuse his mercy on you.
Yeah. Thanks for that. Yeah, thanks
and
for those.
regarding this Anandini points also about the holy name of Krishna, that how he's appearing in this Kali Yuga, in this specific age of darkness, against the darkness, right?
Yeah.
Darkness, Krishna is appearing in again the Kali Yuga darkness, and specifically in the form of his holy name. So in a sense, we are living in a time which is a pastimes of holy name.
Yep.
Like when
nicely put.
contemporary of the Krishna, like when devotee appeared during Krishna's pastimes, so they were enjoying Krishna's form, Krishna's features, Krishna's pastimes. So now we're in a specific age.
Yeah.
If we realize ourselves that it is a pastimes of holy name which is going on, because Krishna is present in the form of holy name.
Yeah.
So just by feeling that, and the biggest pastime holy name is doing is to purify my heart. The first step of cleansing the diamond within ourselves. So just by feeling that I am in a Krishna's pastimes, it becomes so personal.
Thanks for that. Yeah. Prabhupada says clearly that even the material world is Krishna's pastimes, and specifically and especially the pastimes of Krishna in the form of his names. And the whole material world is Krishna's pastimes. that doesn't mean that all the nonsense and foolishness I do, this is just God's pastimes. No, for me, it's for me, this is for the conditioned soul, these aren't pastimes because we're not choosing it from bliss and compassion. But for Krishna, it is his pastimes to bring us back to our original happiness. Thanks for those points. Yes. So today's Sri Krsna Janmastami, special day to increase our service to Krishna, increase our dedication to Bhakti Yoga, including through chanting and hearing. Anandini.
Yes, I would like to give a personal message to Bhaktin Rosa, if I may, at this moment.
Sure.
Bhaktin Rosa, I received the most beautiful greetings from you through Fabiana. And I do know who you are. I am very inspired by all I experienced from you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you for that message. I'm remembering the conversation and I'm delighted. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for sharing, Anandini. Fabiana is there in Switzerland and first came to Krishna consciousness and the Safto programs through Anandini back 9 years ago. And Fabiana was recently in Groveland, Florida, of all places, and was in the advanced seminar. I too appreciated Bhakti Rosa. You were guiding Bhakti and Fabiana to come more and more devotionally to Srila Prabhupada. It's very beautiful to witness. Bhagavad Gita ki,
Yeah.
Srila Prabhupada ki,
Yeah.
Lord Sri Krishna ki, Sri Krishna Janmastami ki, appearance day of Sri Krishna ki. Hare Krishna. So we'll be doing another program starting at 6 p.m. and we're going to turn the Zoom on at 6. So that'll be midnight for you, Anandini. We'll see how that goes. Okay. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.